Om Kayena vacha manasyendrayirva bhutyatmanava prakriti swabhava karomi adyat sakalam paresma Narayanayeti samarpayami Narayanayeti samarpayami.
Dear Seeker of Truth, welcome. In this series of videos, we are going to talk about Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion, of divine love, of God realization. So we are going to talk about the Narada Bhakti Sutras, a beautiful work attributed to sage Narada that talks about in full length of the path of devotion. May you all find inspiration in this work. May you all find meaning and purpose in your spiritual quest through these words. This kind of work, these words, these sutras, they bring light and they open the door to the life of the real quest for liberation. May you also find divine love in your heart. Moving on, Narada Bhakti Sutras, Chapter 8, How to Develop Bhakti. Sutra 37. Bhakti develops from listening to and singing of the attributes and glories of the Lord while engaged in the ordinary activities of life in the world. So the constant remembrance of God, singing His glories, His attributes, bringing that devotion in all activities, ordinary activities of the world. But what this means is that all activities should become a service to God, the constant remembrance of God. The Lord says, I do not dwell in Vaikuntha, the abode of Vishnu, the highest heaven, nor in the hearts of the yogins, O Narada. I dwell there where my devotees sing. So where the devotees are singing, that's where He is. So the power of singing about the Lord, about His attributes, about His stories, that brings God to you. Ordinary life and divine life shouldn't be separated. All activities must be turned into worship, if only you don't forget the remembrance of the Lord. So this is being intelligent and doing whatever it takes to constantly remembering God with love, devotion, reverence. So turn all activities. Let no more there be ordinary activities. Make it all a service to the Lord. Make it all in a way that you remember God constantly with your heart full of reverence and devotion. He who does kirtan and jap of the Lord's names derives the merits of all austerities, of all sacrifices, of baths in the sacred waters and the studies of the Vedas. So singing the names of the Lord, doing mantra with the names of the Lord, brings all merits of all austerities, of all spiritual disciplines, because it brings God. Therefore, the constant practice of kirtan and jap, hearing and constant remembrance of the name and glory of the God, is surely the best and supreme method for attainment of devotion and God realization. The Bhagavata says, "To a man tossed and distressed in the wildfire of samsara, there is no boat other than constant listening and drinking of the essence of the leelas and glories of the Lord to cross this ocean of samsara." So the stories of God's incarnations, they are the best boat because they are sweet and they make the mind turn completely towards God. Jap and Kirtan form the highest help to meditation, self-purification, and realization. Because Jap and Kirtan, repetition of God's name, singing the glories of God, brings that God presence, that subtle mind, and this helps meditation and the constant remembrance and surrender. And this is the life of all spiritual practices of meditation. Like we said previously, sometimes meditation is practiced without devotion because it is purifying so that devotion may rise. But it is when devotion rises that meditation really takes life. So japa is the most excellent sacrifice, especially uninterrupted japa. It gives the best result because it is the constant remembrance of God. And doing japa, the name of God, must replace all other thoughts. And it must be repeated with devotion, zeal, care, attention, focus, so that it doesn't happen that which I explained previously, that the mantra comes on its own, stays there on its own in the background, and in the other part, normal thoughts are going through. This cannot happen. So if the mantra comes to the background, not only you repeat it, but you focus on it and you bring with each repetition love and reverence and devotion. That feeling of love, bring it with the mantra. Restraint of the mind, purity, silence, freedom from distraction constitute the success in japa. So as japa is maintaining, you will observe this. The restraint of the mind, purity increasing, freedom from distraction, the ability to maintain the focus in the mantra. This shows that the practice is being successful. But remember, for it to be successful, it had to remain all times, at all times. And sometimes in its practice, you will see that sometimes the mantra comes on its own. Sometimes it's very difficult to pick up. So when the mantra is coming on its own, focus on it. Focus more, bring more devotion. Understand that as a gift from God to you. When the mantra is not there, honor that gift. When it is difficult to get the mantra, honor the gift that you received. And struggle to maintain the mantra, to maintain your attention. And understand that is a process of purification. The difficulty comes from your attachments, your other thoughts that are still there, and they need to purify. So when it is difficult, that's where you struggle more. Japa must be accompanied by meditation on the meaning of the mantra, or be in the meditation with japa and the meaning. Then one will attain God realization quickly. So the meaning of the mantra, it is that it is the name of God. This must be present. It must be a living repetition and not just a mechanical repetition. Because if it is just mechanical, yes, you will have your mind will become more quiet. You will have certain benefits of it because you're not allowing other thoughts in your mind. So mind is getting focused. But it's only a divine discipline, a divine spiritual practice when the meaning of the word is there also. You are repeating God's name. It's like calling God. It's like calling God, crying for God, claiming for God. Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram are Siddha mantras, special mantras that have been tested and found effective in actual use in the past. They have been tested by many devotees and have taken them to the shores of liberation, to God realization. So these are Siddha mantras, mantras that were tested. Bhagavan is free from all imperfections. Bhagavan is another name for God. Is free from all imperfections. He is perfect. Wisdom, dispassion, power, glory, dominion, and splendor are the 6 attributes of God. So Bhagavan means 6, indicates the 6 attributes of God. Sutra 38. But it, devotion, is attained chiefly by the grace of great men or through a slight measure of the grace of the Lord. So, by the grace of great men, those good men that we were talking previously, saints, enlightened ones, devotees that have realized God, it's through their grace that devotion comes, or through a slight measure of God's grace, usually both also. And this is very important sutra. So let's go some points to see if we can. So in Srimad Bhagavatam it says, in the company of the great prevails talks which perfectly convey my majesty and which soothe the heart and the ear. From listening to these, faith, attachment, and devotion will succeed one another towards Him who is the way to salvation. So in the company of these great ones, the stories are not worldly. They don't waste time with worldly stories. You only listen about the Lord. And this brings attachment to the Lord and salvation. And if the talks are not there, it is the presence which is there, the presence of the Lord itself. Self-effort is important, but without grace, the aspirant will soon realize that he cannot do anything by himself, and that he can attain God realization only through the grace of the great ones, through a little grace of the Lord. So this means that a little grace of God is needed to have access to the grace, to the presence of the great ones. But then there's also another aspect, which is honoring that grace. And the self-effort is very important, to struggle as hard as you can, because if you don't, you will not know what self-surrender is. You will just be begging for someone to make the hard work for you. And it's not the same. But through self-effort, you will see that all your strength is not enough. And then it is possible for you to really surrender. And that the presence of the great ones, the saints, the enlightened ones, the Guru, the devotees, those who have realized God, there must be God's grace so that you can meet one and be able to serve one. Without God's grace, you cannot find one and get their blessings. But finding one is the first step, finding those great ones. Then you must honor that grace so that you can receive the others. Satsang with saints and sages is highly beneficial. Real satsang between a real sage and a saint and a real seeker destroys all worldly attachments, desires, and cravings. So become a real seeker, renounce all worldly attachments. If you don't, there will be some benefits, but much more benefits if you renounce them all. If you strive only for God realization, for liberation. If you are one of those seekers, then satsang with a saint or sage will be highly beneficial, to a point that destroys all worldly attachments, desires, and cravings. Bhakti cannot be cultivated without association with saints, sages, or great souls. And I will ask a question now. If you're not associating with sages, saints, great souls, who are you associating with? Because it is meaningful. Who you associate with, there lies the exchange. Your inspiration, your vision of the world, of life, of purpose, of meaning, all of this. So if you're not associating with the great ones, if you're not serving them, giving your life to be in their presence, with whom are you sharing your time? Even self-effort is only possible through grace, because the power comes all from God. But it's complicated. For certain types of seekers, this sentence may be misleading, but it is actually true. Nonetheless, if you cannot recognize the grace of God in self-effort, and you have difficulties in making efforts, do them. If it is easy for you to make the effort, understand that strength comes from God. So don't misuse it. Divine comes automatically as a result of good actions, devotion, and self-surrender. When the ego is terminated, then the obstruction to divine grace is removed and grace flows freely. So the ego, it's that which blocks divine grace, that hides the sun. Once it is removed, divine is revealed. And what keeps this ego? Those actions that turn your attention away from God, from reality, from the truth. It is those actions that maintain the ego. So this combination of good actions, actions that please the Lord, that serve God, coupled with devotion and self-surrender, this is what removes the ego. The Guru appears only through the grace of the Lord. He transmutes his power to the disciple through look, touch, or sankalpa, a setting intention. So the Guru appears to the disciple by the grace of God. The disciple should know this so that he may be able to honor it. Or else he thinks it's just a matter of chance and he will misuse the presence of the Guru, treating in a way that he gets some benefit out of it instead of that great benefit. And the Guru transfers his power into the disciple as it is possible and constructive to him, either by look, touch, or intention. And then the disciple, by his constant work, makes that power, gives it room for it to transform it completely. The Lord alone appears as the Guru. The Guru, the body, is an instrument of the Lord, because if it is a Guru, it is a self-realized one. So the ego has disappeared. When the ego disappears, God is what is there. So it is God alone who manifests as the Guru. And there is confusion between the body of the Guru and the Guru. The Guru is not that body. That body is an instrument of the Guru, of God. Only an instrument. Has the characteristics needed for what that tool is supposed to do, but it's just a tool. It is not the Guru. Self-effort is necessary for self-purification and to enabling grace to manifest itself. Self-effort is also through grace. Honoring grace at all times is the key for continuous, non-stopping spiritual growth. This is very important. Honoring grace at all times with your effort, dedication, commitment, sacrifice. It is the key for continuous spiritual growth. Because if you dishonor grace, you fall down. Lord Krishna says, this divine illusion of mine, caused by the qualities, the gunas, is hard to pierce. They who come to me, they cross over this illusion. This is from the Gita. And in the Mundaka Upanishad and Kathopanishad, you will find this Atman cannot be attained by discourse, nor by intelligence, nor by profound study. It can be realized by him only who it favors. Him this Atman favors with its manifestation. So only by God's blessing, only by God's blessing. And it continues. Though ever performing all actions, take refuge in me, by my grace he obtains the eternal, indestructible abode. Thinking of me, thou shalt overcome all obstacles by my grace. But if from egoism thou wilt not listen, thou shalt be destroyed utterly. So if you honor that grace, you will overcome all obstacles. But if by egoism you disrespect grace, you do not honor grace, you will be destroyed utterly. Out of pure compassion for them, dwelling within their self, I destroy the ignorance born darkness by the shining lamp of wisdom. Mahat Kripa, the grace of the Eternal Ones, is also necessary. There is no difference between God and a realized Bhagavat. the one who has realized God. Both are identical. Satsang with them is a safe boat to take the aspirant beyond darkness. A book written by realized souls constitute secondary satsang. When you study them, you are in communion with the author. But this is very important because reading the book of a self-realized one is a means of communion with the self-realized one. It's not actually the information which is there, which is also important, but that communion. If you're reading the book without that sense of communion, you're losing the best part of it. Grace descends only for those aspirants who are earnestly struggling in the path and are thirsting for realization. So this is important. So grace comes to those who are struggling in the spiritual path, sincerely, earnestly. And if they continue so, grace will continue to come. But if they slack their efforts, they stop honoring grace, and grace stops descending. The opposite comes. That is also grace. Without struggling, there's no grace, except maybe from past lives, but it has to be honored to be fruitful. So this is the grace, the visions, divine visions, even the presence of a self-realized one, without making any struggle to achieve it, without understanding what it is. This is grace that is due because of past lives, but then it has to be honored to be fruitful. Kabir, Tulsidas, Shankara and Guru Nanak have all written volumes on the glory of satsang with Mahatmas. Faith in God, in scriptures, attachment and devotion to God slowly develop in those who are regular in satsang. Some say there are no saints, self-realized one. It is not true. Divine law is the supply. It is in accordance with the demand. If there is sincere demand, it will come at once. So if there's demand for them, they will be there. But if the demand is not there, less will be there. It is according to the demand. So if there are not many liberated ones, saints, probably not many seekers, real ones. Okay.
Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva tvameva bandhushka sakha tvameva tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva tvameva sarvam mama deva deva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva.